that you are forgiven, you're learning, you're growing. We a lot of times get depressed and frustrated because of things we're trying to change in our lives and it doesn't work. You know, I know I have this, slender body that's, so hard to keep. Weight is a problem for me, controlling my weight. We all have things that we struggle with. So we have to be thinking about that God makes us perfect because we're forgiven. That's the thing. Even these crazy brothers, these 12 brothers or the 10 that were really malicious, they also are allowed to be forgiven. And now they're faced with seeing Joseph again. And what's that going to do? Remind them of all the bad things they did, especially Reuben and Judah, who feel real bad about what happened at the well when Joseph got sold into Egypt. Okay, so it's a continual process. And these boys, these men, they're like they're 60 years old. I mean, they're old guys. In their time, they would have been adults, just adults, right? But for us, if we lived that long, we'd consider it pretty old. They've lived a lot of years. So Joseph was prime minister of Egypt. He's married to Asenath, the daughter of the high priest of Heliopolis. He had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and Pharaoh treated Joseph as one of his own family. By any measure, Joseph was wildly successful. He had long since forgotten the betrayal that had brought him to Egypt, and he had long since forgotten the father who had never come looking for him. Remember that? That was a real sadness for him, that no one came to get him.
Thought he was dead.
But Joseph didn't know that. Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers did not recognize him. Learning that his brother Benjamin was living with the family in Canaan, Joseph accused his brothers of being spies. He arrested Simeon, holding him hostage, and he sent the others back to Canaan, ordering them to bring Benjamin to Egypt if they hoped to buy food and to see Simeon alive. Hey, given what the brothers did to Joseph, Joseph feared that Benjamin may suffer the same fate, right? He's got to be worried about Benjamin. Okay, so what do we know about Simeon? Yeah, I know it's hard to remember. Okay, so I'll remind you.
He's the one that the reason he kept him was because he was like the shadiest.
Simeon, okay, I'll remind you, yes, I'll remind you of what he did. Simeon was the second son of Jacob and Leah, and it was Simeon and Levi who planned and executed the vicious slaughter of the Shechemites during the Dinah episode. So Simeon was like the hothead, the volatile one. So Joseph kept him in prison and sent the others back. So hoping that it would protect Benjamin, right? Who knows what ideas Simeon would get on the way back to tell his dad or the brothers. So that was that. Jacob, however, was not about to allow Benjamin to accompany his brothers to Egypt, for he too feared that Benjamin's life would be in danger if Benjamin traveled with the boys. But the famine was severe, and ultimately Jacob relented, sending Benjamin under the protection of Judah. So Simeon got kept by Joseph, and the rest of them went back and brought Benjamin with them. And Jacob allowed Judah to be in charge of Benjamin and bring him back. So now Reuben is the oldest, the one who went back to the cistern to find Joseph gone. So what do we know about Judah? Judah had held himself responsible for Joseph's fate, fully believing that he caused Joseph's death. Judah had been so guilt-ridden, it seems, that he had left his family for 20 years. And while he was gone, living near his buddy Hira, the Adullamite, Judah was a pig, treating his daughter-in-law Tamar cruelly. So he spent 20 years regretting what happened and not doing much better where he was at, just in misery. So, you ready for his new story? Can he be made new? We just talked about how we all have things that we do, and somehow we have to learn to receive the forgiveness and move past it, right? Somehow we have to learn to do that. Give it to God. So if I give something to God and then I start feeling guilty about it the next day, then what do?
Keep giving it to God.
Keep giving it to God. Every minute that you can't let go of that thing that you did wrong, you turn that over to God. You pray, you allow God to take it, right? Genesis 43, verse 1. Now the famine was still severe in the land. So when they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, "Go back and buy us a little more food." Now, who's in Egypt?
Josh.
Simeon was left there. Notice what he did not say.
Don't get your brother.
No one seems eager for Simeon to come back. Right? I love the look on your eyes. Like, oh well. Verse 3, but Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" So they know that. Verse 4, "If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. Because the man said to us, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" So either the brothers bring Benjamin to Egypt and buy grain, or the entire family stays where they are and die of starvation. So that's not going to sit well with Jacob. Israel asked, "Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. 'Is your father still living?' he asked. 'Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How were we to know he would say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Then Judah said to Israel, his father. Now, which one's Judah?
The one who felt like he was responsible.
Yes. "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice." So Judah had held himself responsible for Joseph's fate. He believed that he caused Joseph's death. Judah had been so guilt-ridden that he had left his family for 20 years, and while he was gone, he was living with his buddy Hira the Adullamite. Judah was a pig, treating his daughter-in-law Tamar cruelly. Remember that whole episode? He wasn't of a... Now Judah is stepping up. And if he fails to bring Benjamin back, Judah will bear the blame before his father forever. It sounds to me like Judah already is bearing the blame for it happening in the first place. He has a lot of guilt about that, but he's stepping up. That's exactly what Judah had been doing for the past 20 years, bearing the blame for Joseph's death. Now he's willing to bear the blame for Benjamin's death too, if he fails. That's a very brave thing to do. If Judah manages to bring both Simeon and Benjamin, as well as grain to save his family, it may very well redeem him. Genesis 43, verse 11. Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags and take them down to the man as a gift. A little balm, a little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double the amount of silver with you, for you must return the silver that was put back in the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also, and go back to the man at once. And may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved." Well, what's going to happen to him if they don't make the trip? He's going to starve, and he's going to watch his whole family starve. I mean, what are his choices, right? There's not much choice here. So the men took the gifts and doubled the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Take these men to my house, slaughter an animal, and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon." The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. Now, what do you think the men are thinking?
There's in trouble.
We're in big trouble now. Now, the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. They thought, We were brought here because of the silver that was put back into our sacks the first time. He wants to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys."
People think everyone's just like they are.
Yeah, they do.
I think it's funny they worry about their donkeys if they're gonna be slaves.
Yeah. Then it's just a rash moment of, oh no, what's going to happen to us? So they went up to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. "We beg your pardon, our lord," they said. "We came down here the first time to buy food, but all the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks, and each of us found his silver, the exact weight, in the mouth of his sack. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put our silver in our sacks." What do you think? I think that was a pretty smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Confess it to the steward. You don't know what's going on with that other guy that's supposed to be in charge of all the grain, but at least you can get to the steward before they blame you, right? "It's all right," he said. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." What? Wait, read that again. "It's all right," he said. Who's talking? The steward. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." What do you mean, your God?
Wasn't his.
Joseph must have talked to him about God.
They had some knowledge of Jehovah God, of Yahweh. They had some knowledge of him. Then he brought Simeon out to them. So what do you think they're feeling right now?
Relief.
I bet they can't take a breath. What? What? What's happening here? And then you bring Simeon out too? You're not mad about the silver, no big deal, and you bring Simeon out. Wait, how could...
Wait for that other shoe to drop.
Yeah, trying to figure out how this even computes. It doesn't make any sense. The steward took the men into Joseph's house. They're going into the second of the highest of the king? They're going into his house? Gave them water to wash their feet and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon because they had heard that they were to eat there. When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. That was the dream. That was the dream that he had told them when he was a boy. So how do you think the brothers, what are they thinking now? They probably can't breathe. They're probably,
Sometimes when.
this is the dream that we saw. He asked them how they were, and then he said, "How's your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, your servant, our father is still alive and well," and they bowed down, prostrating themselves before him. So now Joseph knows that Jacob is alive. The brothers are even more puzzled because they are having dinner with the man in his home. And then Joseph sees Benjamin. As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He went into his private room and wept there. So Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. So this time, this must be really a heartfelt, this is his only real physical family other than his father. So the first time he turned aside and wept, but this time he rushes from the room to weep. After he had washed his face, he came out and, controlling himself, said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to the Egyptians. What's detestable about it?
More shade because they're shepherds and the
They're stinky, they're shepherds. Yeah, they don't bathe regular, if at all. It's not, it's not their culture. They've got the beards and the fuzzy hair and everything. And the Egyptians are all clean shaven and cut and wearing the regular clothes. The men had been seated before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest. And they looked at each other in astonishment. Why? What are they astonished by?
How do they know our ages?
Yeah, how old is, Solomon at this time, how old is Joseph?
His 40s,
Yeah. So how old is Benjamin, the young one?
probably in his
2018.
30, probably 30, yeah. So if you look at the ages of them, they're a bunch of old men. It's not like they're kids anymore. When we read about them last, they were young men and children, right? Now that he's been gone, it's been gone a long time.
And-
20 years he's been gone.
And many of them were born in quick succession. They weren't far apart in age.
Because remember when Joseph, his coat of many colors, he was like 17. So then he's been 20 years in Egypt. I mean, he's 30 some years old now. And the brothers have gotten older too. So these are not like little kids. How would you know which one's older than the other? If I looked at you as a group, if we tried to figure out, okay, we're gonna go from oldest to youngest, I know who would be oldest.
You better be real careful about the rest of that.
I know. The rest of the order I'm not sure about, but.
They all look like unmade beds.
That's right. That's right. So, verse 34, when portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's. So they feasted and drank freely with him. So what do you think about that? Joseph's 40, Benjamin's about 30. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're probably all going, why?
Still no recognition. Yeah.
Joseph recognizes him.
But from the.
Right.
From the brothers.
But even his voice doesn't tip him off somehow.
Somehow, I think the whole thing is so, it's such a shakeup. I don't know that they're really thinking. I think it's just like too much input all at one time. How do you take it
He's
in?
looking at his brothers that are still in that realm of what they look like when he last saw them, where he looks totally different, and he probably speaks differently because he's learning the Egyptian language and been around the higher.
And we saw before he was speaking Egyptian to them and using an interpreter.
Yeah.
So, they don't even know that he understands their language. So they're saying stuff to each other that he understands. And when they're talking to him, the interpreter's telling him what he's saying, but he already knows what they said. So now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Uh-oh, that's what they did last time. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. What's Joseph setting up here?
He's gonna grab that boy.
He wants Benjamin. So he's found a way to do it. There's no way that they would just have his cup, right? Maybe the silver gets returned, the steward says it's okay, or you don't need to, whatever, but his cup? Verse 3, as morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done. So it seems that this final test is kind of odd. From the brothers' perspective, the silver in their sacks the first time could have been an oversight or an accident. But it happened again? Again their silver is returned? That's not an accident.
What's the deal with divination in a silver cup?
Right, and is Joseph doing divination? Because we know that he does dream interpretation, but we have no sign that he does divination. But if that was in that part of the culture of the time, that's why the person had the cup, was because that was part of what would be done. So they consider that a special cup.
I think it's putting fear in the brothers.
Yes.
The whole thing.
The whole
The-
thing is a setup.
It seems like the brothers are caught in like a nightmare which they cannot escape.
Payback.
Listen to this. The brothers had wanted to sell Joseph into slavery, but the Ishmaelites got to him first. And the brothers did not get the money they had wanted. Now they can't seem to get rid of the money. It's as if the recurring silver is emblematic of the brothers' guilt over their part in what they believe was Joseph's death. The money just keeps coming back at them, right? I think that's kind of a funny way to look at it. That's a sharp observation. As his brothers had said, Joseph is those are the Hebrew words, master of dreams. Here it seems that Joseph is crafting a dream, a nightmare, from which his brothers cannot escape. A dream woven from the sticky strands of their own guilt. And Joseph's special cup, the one used for divination, enhances the nightmare. It too is silver, and the ancient world's soothsaying was often associated with gazing at glistening liquid in precious cups, a practice called scrying. Verse 6. When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them, but they said to him, "Why does my Lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found in the mouths of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves." Yikes. We know where the cup is. "Very well then," he said, "let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame." Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Why didn't they go on home?
Dad's gonna kill them when they get home.
You better not come home without Benjamin. So does this remind you of anything? Like when Rachel stole Laban's household god, teraphim? Jacob insisted that if anybody in his family were found to have them, that person would die. Remember that? Laban rummaged through Leah's and Rachel's tents. He did not find them, but ironically, Rachel does die, giving birth to Benjamin. Now, Rachel's son Benjamin faces the same death sentence that his mother faced, also for stealing a mystical, magical object. These brothers are remembering all this stuff is coming up in their memory. Verse 14, Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination?" "What can we say, my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we ourselves, and the one who was found to have the cup." In other words, don't just take Joseph, don't take Benjamin, to take us all. But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who is found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace." Are they in peace?
No.
No, he's not in peace. Then Judah went up to him and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak with a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servants, 'Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered, 'We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he's the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him.'" Who's the brother that's dead?
Joseph.
Do you remember when God asks himself, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do?" regarding Sodom and Gomorrah? Remember we read about Sodom and Gomorrah? And God asks himself, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do?" Abraham stepped forward and began a debate with God. Here, Judah steps forward and talks to the second most powerful man in Egypt to make this argument. That's courage. It's a lot of courage. "Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me so I can see him for myself.' And we said to the The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die. But you told your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my Lord had said. So can you hear how Judah is trying to reasonably explain the situation to him, to the man, to make his case? For Judah, this is devastating in his own mind. It was Judah's actions that resulted in the father's grief the first time. Benjamin's death would bring pain and grief to Judah that he simply could not bear, a grief that would crush him. So he knows that his father is not, he feels like his father's not going to live through losing Benjamin. Verse 25, then our father said, go back and buy a little more food. But we said, we cannot go. Only if our youngest brother is with us will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me, and I said, he has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery.
Joseph at least now knows that his father did grieve him and that he thought.
Joseph didn't know why his father never came to get him, to find him. Why didn't his father come rescue him? Now he learns Jacob thought he was torn to pieces by wild beasts. As he was being sold in the slave market, working in Potiphar's household and languishing in prison, Joseph must have asked himself many times, why doesn't anybody come and get me? Now he knows why he was not rescued. Joseph's heart is breaking as he hears his story, and he looks deeply into Judah's eyes, and he can tell that Judah's telling the truth. So Joseph didn't realize that his father thought he was dead. He didn't know the brothers had bloodied his coat of many colors and shown it to Jacob as proof. They didn't know that. Verse 30. So now, if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy is not there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my Lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come on my father. So Judah is offering to do what?
Take Benjamin's place.
Judah's speech is the longest speech in Genesis. It's a moving piece. This is the man who wanted to sell Joseph into slavery, and he just now offered himself as a slave in place of Benjamin. In a very real sense, Judah steps forward as a substitutionary offering for his brother. Where else do we see that? Christ is our substitutionary offering for our sins. Right.
This must have been very heartwarming for Benjamin as well.
But does Benjamin know yet that this is his brother?
No,
Not yet.
no, but for his.
To hear what happened?
Yeah,
Yeah. Judah is the 4th son of Jacob and Leah. Among his elder brothers, Reuben disqualified himself for the moral high ground by having sex with his father's concubine, Bilhah. Simeon is already in Joseph's prison, and besides Simeon and Levi stepped far outside the moral boundaries by slaughtering the Shechemites during the Dinah affair. Judah is next in line. Consumed by guilt, Judah offers to replace Benjamin, an offer that is both sacrificial and profound. Consequently, from Judah and Judah alone will come the Davidic dynasty, and from the Davidic dynasty will come the Messiah, Jesus.
He's like a kinsman redeemer, huh?
There you go. Good job. Give Vern a high five.
I think it's
That is
interesting.
vocabulary.
I think it's interesting how they perceived their dad back when they sold Joseph. didn't really care about him that much. And now have seen their dad all these years mope around and the love for their dad, they can't comprehend their dad going to the grave that way.
Yeah.
They've changed,
Yeah,
and now he's willing to take a life when he already thought he took Joseph's life.
right. Yeah, they're maturing. They also have their own children now, so they're also thinking of their own families and how
Yeah.
they would feel about that. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants. He cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence!" So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. It is my father still living." But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. So this is the third time that Joseph weeps, this time in loud sobs that everybody could hear. And then the brother just going, "What?" Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." That's the difference between Joseph and his brothers. That's the difference. It has been all the time, even the dreams from when he was a young man. He recognizes God in his life. For 2 years now, there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler of Egypt. So Joseph needs to tell his father that he is alive and well in Egypt, and to bring Jacob and the entire family to be with him. "Now hurry back to my father." What if he dies before they get back? It takes him a little over a month to make the trip. Can you imagine what he's thinking? My father is alive, or at least that was a month and a half ago. Now you got a month and a half trip back, and then a month and a half to get back to me. Right. "Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have.'" Do you remember where Goshen was on the map? It's not where Joseph's at, right?
Right.
That's the other place, but with that real green area that we saw.
Because they're shepherds and that they need an area for all of their flocks and stuff.
Nobody minds a stinky shepherd out in the field, but nobody wants a stinky shepherd in their pretty houses. So, "I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly." Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin embraced him, weeping, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, his brothers talked with him. So Benjamin's like 30 years old. They're not young kids. They feel like kids because we've been talking to them about the mistakes they've made. They make mistakes like kids, but they're men now.
Benjamin was like 10 when Joseph.
Right. So it's been 20 years, so he's like 30 now. You can only imagine the reunion. The brothers must have sat up until the wee hours of the night catching up on everything that happened over the past 20 years. From Joseph's arrival in Egypt through all his difficulties and successes, and all about the challenges of being prime minister of Egypt. The brothers, too, must have listened a lot, but they also told their tales, for each had his own story. I'll bet there was more weeping there, too. What's it say? I wonder if Pharaoh stopped by. Verse 16. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this. Load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land. You are also directed to tell them, do this: take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. That's very generous, don't you think? Of course, why would the Pharaoh be generous?
Because he loved Joseph.
Joseph's been a lifesaver
He
for,
benefited under Joseph.
yeah, he's benefited a lot under Joseph, and especially now, you know, when they were storing the grain in the 7 years of plenty, they were storing the grain, right? But now it's in the famine. When they were storing the grains of plenty, you already have plenty and you're not really selling it, you're gathering it. Now you're selling it. So he's making good money. They're
Pharaoh
making,
owns everything.
yeah, and they're
Wow.
making good money off of that grain that's coming in. So that's another reason Pharaoh would be good to Joseph. So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way."
Good chance there.
Joseph knows his brothers, and they're a month-long journey to get back home. So they went out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt."
That doesn't compute.
Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I'm convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." So he perks up, he's ready to go. And that is what Jacob will do in our next lesson. We're going to see Israel, Jacob step up in our next lesson. So I have a question for you. Why did Judah step up?
Guilt, he wanted to redeem himself.
He was gonna go back and pull him out of the well and get him out of the situation. That was his plan.
That was Reuben.
Oh.
That was Reuben? Okay.
But the lesson is the same in both places. We have to learn, God, we know that God will forgive us. We seem to accept that more quickly than we will forgive ourselves. How do you move past big life failures, big things you did wrong? How do you keep from feeling guilty about it all the time? So I've been fat a lot of my life. Now I'm moderate fat compared to how fat I've been. So how do I buy clothes, live my life with confidence without feeling insecure about how I look, because I always feel fat? Do you see what I mean? Maybe when you were younger, you did something you really regret having done. Maybe even it's something that affected your health, or maybe it affected someone in your family, and you still just feel really bad about it. You've done everything you can, you've asked for forgiveness, you've tried to move past it. Why do we keep punishing ourselves? Walk around with a whip, whipping ourselves for things we've not done perfectly.
Because the devil puts it in our head that we are important.
That's one of Satan's best tools, isn't it?
It is.
God doesn't remind us of it, the devil does.
What has God done? He tells us what he does.
Tells us to forgive ourselves.
He forgives us.
Forgives us.
He puts it away, puts it aside. It's gone. So whenever
Let
we,
me ask you a supernatural thing, because everybody feels guilt. It's like death and taxes sort of a thing. And I think it's if you can forgive yourself, it's like supernatural.
it is supernatural. God has to forgive us. But when God forgives us, we have to be willing to accept the forgiveness and not keep beating ourselves up over things from the past. What happens if you beat yourself up over the past all the time? What happens?
You
It kills your
angry.
spirit.
And you can't move forward. You become
Uh-huh.
angry, it kills your spirit, you can't move forward. You also look at other people with the eye. You're always looking at other people, expecting them to be as bad as you were, right? You're suspicious.
It also makes you, if you keep, dreaming yourself up, you're not really placing all of your faith in God. You're not believing that God has, forgiven you and cleansed you.
Well, Paul wrote, Corinthians, I think, we need to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And there are thoughts that are out there, and you have to grab that thought and ask yourself, is the thought your own? Is it a friend? Is it the Holy Spirit? Is it a demonic world? And you have to take that thought and take it to the Word. And the Word of God is what's true. And so many times when we ask God to forgive us, He's forgiven us, but we don't believe it. And like you said, we have to always go back to and realize that God wants to forgive you for your own faults. And what happens is we listen to those voices, wherever they're from, and if we align ourselves up with that thought that goes contrary to God, then we're just believing a falsehood.
My grandma, MacMinn, her name was Pearl. She had a fly swatter. I visited her when I was in high school age or so. No, it was before high school, but somewhere in that age group. And I stayed with her one summer, and she had this fly swatter on the kitchen table. And she and my grandpa would read their Bible in the morning, and which I thought was really weird. But anyway, they would read their Bible and talk about it, and she'd get up and make breakfast. And my grandpa was talking about sin and how God forgives us of sin, and we need to quit bringing up old things, and we're forgiven, we need to move past them. And my grandma Pearl came over to the table, and there was a fly on the table. She swatted, she says, "That's what you do." You swat that thought, that thing that's poking at you, because that's just the devil. It's just a fly pestering around you, trying to get you distracted. That's what you do.
That's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Those things that we are forgiven for, we are forgiven. Hold on to the forgiveness. And then turn and do what with other people?
Same thing.
How many times? Every time that's needed. You just forgive them again and again, because God has forgiven you. So God's forgiven you, so you turn and forgive them. That's.
If you don't forgive yourself too, I think that there's a point that it's like, you just wear yourself down, and then the devil does win, because it's like, I might as well go back and be a drunk or loose or steal, or, because you just put yourself in that mindset.
That's absolutely true.
What, do I still lend him another $10?
Well, it doesn't say to be stupid.
Oh.
Don't be stupid. We're supposed to be wise as serpents, innocent as doves, right?
Okay.
So you're right. You make a good point. But we do need to be forgiving.
Well, take that to the extreme. If some person abused one of your kids, okay, you do have to forgive them. But don't trust your kids to be around them. That would be stupid.
Right. Don't be stupid, but you do forgive them. You have to give them an opportunity to move past that, So it's a
Forgive
tricky.
the act.
Yes.
It's always gonna be tricky, because Satan's gonna work to make it tricky. There's always gonna be. So you've got good Christian brothers and sisters that you can talk to. You can talk directly to God and say, "God, give me wisdom," and then let Him give you wisdom on what to say or not to say. You can say, "God, give me the words, or help me be so choked up I can't say anything." Whatever it is I need, let me know. That's why we have the Holy Spirit, is to prompt us in
And
what we need to
with
say.
God's redemption, there may eventually become a time when you can trust Him again, and take and lend him the money again if he's good,
Yeah.
if he redeems himself. But
Yeah, God doesn't say we need to be stupid.
you're right.
He says,
And
"Be
yet we're
wise
so
as
good
serpent."
at it.
Wise as serpent, innocent as doves.
yeah, right, we are good at it.
Well, if you don't forgive somebody, and you're carrying that every time you see him, you grumble under your breath, and that's sorry, no good. That's not good for you. So if you can bring yourself to forgive them and let go of that, then